Hello, all.
Hello.
Let me check with.
Hello.
My camera's not
check.
on. Hold on.
Check with AJ. I think he's the only other member right now. Oh, there he is.
All right. Oh, hold on. My computer. Okay.
Oh, wait. I'm munching. Hello, Pastor Johnson. I'm doing the same thing, munching. I'm eating right now.
All right, Pastor AJ, how are you? Ms. Brody, Happy New Year, happy and healthy New Year to everyone.
Happy New
Michelle.
Year.
The hair. I'm sorry.
Happy
Happy New Year, Bob. I just saw your hair. Hello. I love it.
New year, new you. Okay.
Christina, I cut my hair like 2 months ago. I just didn't. I didn't blow out the top. No, I did. Okay. Yeah, Michelle's like,
I can vouch, you did.
I guess it's been a while since I've seen you.
right. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, or maybe it's like a month and a half, but either or, yes. But I just blew
Either
out.
way, it looks good.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Cherise.
If anyone sees someone named Maricia Morris coming in, that's our public ally. So she is joining us today.
Public ally. What is that? Sorry.
Our public ally. So it's almost like an intern. So
Oh. Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's born and raised in Hartford. She's super smart, just like a wonderful young lady. So we're very lucky to have her, and she's been adding a lot to the team.
Kind of like if you're familiar with a Vista. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's kind of similar.
Okay.
A public
I'll
ally
look that up.
or a Vista, yeah. Like the city of Hartford, they use a lot of Vistas and yeah, so.
I am out of it.
Yeah. But that's our role. We're like, in the community, we want to make sure that we are offering those opportunities for folks to learn,
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Santiago, do you think we could start? Do we have everyone that we need?
Yep, I believe we do. So, Chief, well, I'll let you start the meeting.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Oh, wait, am I on mute? No, you can hear me, right?
No,
can you hear me?
We can hear y'all. We can hear.
Okay. Yes, you can start the meeting. Yes.
Do I see everyone? Is everyone present that's presenting? Does anybody need more time to join us?
This evening, it's just Michelle and I. We have some team members who are under
I
the
can't
weather.
hear you.
Oh.
Is it me? Wait, I know.
I mean, the computer is muted. That's what I did just yesterday.
Okay, I'm good now.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I'm
All
good.
right, perfect. No, I was saying Michelle and I are it. We have some team members who are still out on vacation. Others are under the weather, and then some contractually they have today off. So it's just me and Michelle.
Yeah, Three Kings Day.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, we are going to start the meeting. I welcome everyone who is present here that we can see, and those who may be joining us and watching virtually. to the very first Family and Community Engagement Committee meeting of 2022. I am chairing this meeting at least for the next couple months that I know of. And I am joined by my colleague, Pastor AJ Johnson. We are the two board members on this committee at this time. And we are going to get started. Our very first item is Family Resource Centers accepting of funds and contract approval. And I believe I'm turning it over to Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Ms. Brody. So yes, every year, we do bring to the board the acceptance of funds for our family resource centers. And it usually happens once the money is dispersed or released from the State Department of Education to support the family resource centers. And so this year, we have Hispanic Health Council and the Village for Families and Children, and they operate their FRCs, Hispanic Health Council, out of the Maria Sanchez Elementary School, and the Village, they operate their FRC at Burns Latino, Sarah J. Rawson, Sand School, and Fred D. Wish. These FRCs, that's why we are sharing this. They do receive state funding to be an aid and resource to families at the various schools. They do offer like play groups, family classes, and each year the money is divided up across the 5 resource centers. And so we would be looking to accept the $500,000 from the State Department of Education, $100,000 each site. And it's for the family resource centers just to continue their work. What I was trying to compile for this meeting is the number of years. Oh, see, I should have looked up. Thank you, Shelly Marr. She's probably watching. So for approximately 20 years, the State Department of Education has been granting funds to family resource centers, family resource center programs here at Hartford Public Schools. So we have to bring this to this committee as we do every year. It's always on the board agenda to accept these funds so they can continue the work. So that's it, and I'll pause there if there are any questions.
I'm just going to add that we have 5 schools: Maria Sanchez Elementary, Latino Studies Academy at Burns, Sands, Fred D. Wish, and Sarah J. Rawson.
Yes.
Are there any questions? I don't know if Mr. Johnson has anything he wants to add, ask.
No, not at this time.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I'm very familiar with the receipt of these funds every year. So with that said,
Well, just one question, I guess.
Okay.
If you're fishing for one, I got one. Is there any restrictions with the funds, with it being the time that we're in terms of COVID-19? Are the restrictions on the dollars still as they were in previous years, or are there any new restrictions on these funds?
Ms. Blackburn?
Thank you. So just to clarify, Pastor AJ, when you say restriction on the funds, so are you referring to restrictions as far as like receiving less monies or implementation of the dollars?
Implementation of the dollars, being that it is like it's a COVID year, and that's just something I would like to know.
Got you.
Before. Yeah.
Okay, so the operators, they do have to submit a plan of what they plan on doing with the money, how they're going to utilize the dollars. Given that we are in a pandemic, of course, there have been tweaks So as far as restrictions, the State Department of Education, they do give the operators latitude, but understanding that we are in a pandemic. So if they were going to have I'll pick on a play group, they would need to follow COVID-19 protocols. They would need to do all of those things that have been stipulated already to education resource centers, to education agencies by the State Department of Education.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
And with that said, Ms. Santiago, would the breakdown, because I know it says what it's going to be used for, but will there be a breakdown in the packet at the board meeting?
Yeah, we can get that and put it in the packet, yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So we are going to, so Mr. Johnson, you're comfortable with this moving forward?
Yeah.
Okay, to the full board. Okay, so thank you, and we're just gonna go right ahead along to the monthly Welcome Center report.
Chief Backberg, do you want me to share the PowerPoint or first just the reports are on the, is that what, I'm sorry, was the Welcome Center report part of that PowerPoint you sent me?
No,
Or is that
it's
separate?
not.
Okay.
That's separate. So the Welcome Center summary, that's, I don't know if you usually share that or if that's just something they speak to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, usually, well, I know Judith is out. Miss Fagan is out.
No.
and-
I'm prepared to share the report. I'm just wondering, are you going to share the summary so that everyone can see it?
Oh, yes,
Or
yes.
do you want me
Give
to
me
just
1
speak
second.
to it? Okay.
But feel free to start.
Okay. No problem. All right. So for December 21, there were a total of 345 intakes in the Welcome Center. 296 of those being requests for varying items or needs. There were 15 concerns, meaning families had an inquiry that they wanted addressed by the Welcome Center. And then there were 34 complaints. And in the backup documents that I believe will be placed into board docs, there's a breakdown that speaks to those 34 complaints. The top 5 reasons for intakes were 88 intakes or requests for homeless, clothing, toys, hygiene kits, and then transportation. 21 intakes there, 18 requests, 2 complaints, and 1 concern. This month, the schools that are listed here, elementary schools, Belize Global, Parkville, Sanchez, and Burns. Those were the elementary schools that came in as far as the top 5 schools as far as intakes. Middle school, McDonough, Milner, Burr, Kennelly, and Global. Our high schools, Hartford High, Buckley, Weaver, Capital Prep, and HMTCA. And then other here, new students, 20, and then out of district questions or concerns, 17. The McKinney-Vento, 12 students were identified under the McKinney-Vento program. And as you know, our McKinney-Vento coordinator, Ms. Carrillo, she does work with those families. This time of year, yes, there are a lot of donations that do come to the Welcome Center as well as to the office, and a few are listed here. I think the only one missing from here is, oh my goodness, Michelle, the Connecticut Forum. So I'll ask Judith to add that one, Christina, and send it back to you. So there were donations from Toys for Tot, Dignity Grows, Hometown Foundation, The Rejoice, Pastor AJ Johnson, board member, and the members of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. They did a collection drive and made that donation to the Welcome Center. And the Connecticut Forum, because they are unable to host their holiday party that they hosted for Hartford Public Schools for many years, they donated 60 $100 gift cards. And we took those gift cards and distributed them across schools. So 2 families in each of the schools were able to receive those gift cards. So those were the donations. Other partnerships, the Welcome Center is working with United Way, the Dolly Parton Imagination Library Initiative, giving out free books. And for the month of December, 3 registrations were completed through the Welcome Center. And I will stop there.
Thank you. Do you, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you for that report. It do you mind scrolling back up to all the way to the total intakes? All right, so in November, we had 306 intakes, and in December, 345. So we've had a increase, right? The top 5 reasons for November were homelessness, which are 94 intakes, has increased this month. I'm not going to say significantly, but I just want to know if that's on par with what you see typically around this month. Is that unusual? Because last month it was 94. Oh, and it decreased to 88. Is there any specific, reasons to why it's a fluctuating number? I should ask. Are you seeing more? Like, how are parents or people coming in reporting their need? Are they walking into the Welcome Center? Are you hearing this from different schools? How are you getting to that number?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get off mute, Miss Blackburg.
No problem. Thank you, Ms. Brody. So Pastor AJ, thank you for the question. And I'll start by saying that, yes, we do recognize that we are a very transient district. And we already know that the months October to about February, we do see fluctuating numbers of folks that are homeless and displaced. And so the number fluctuating between November and December, from year to year, it can be that there are none in November and then you see 120 in December. But what that means is that just the transience of the population. The other question that you asked in regards to how do we get to these numbers? So in each building, we do have a family and community service support provider. And if a family comes to that individual and shares that, I am displaced or I am currently in between, that's okay, Marcelo, I'm in between homes, they take that information and they call the Welcome Center and they share that with our homeless coordinator. So she's receiving that information through our family liaisons, through walk-ins at the Welcome Center, as well as some families will pick up the phone and just call. Once that information is received by our homeless and displaced coordinator, she's going to make contact with them and then from there complete a form, find out how they can be of assistance. Is it a referral to a shelter? Do we need to set up different type of transportation for the children? But that is how those numbers are reported. So it's not just from one place, but the FCSSPs, it could even be a social worker, someone in the school will call the Welcome Center to share that information as well as walk-ins and then self-identifying phone calls from the individual.
Okay, thank you. And so do they just disappear? Like, so do they, like, what is the case closed once you like, so to me, it feels like if a person is homeless, it should be something that is reoccurring. And what I'm seeing is last month there were more than this month, or, vice versa. Does that mean they're just not homeless anymore? Was the case closed? Or like, how do we identify as these cases are being opened and closed?
Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you. And completely understand your premise, Pastor AJ. So yes, if the individual has found a place to reside, then of course they would no longer be considered homeless. But on the report itself, she has to report the number for that particular month of folks that have shared that I am displaced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then from there, yes, you're going to be working with a family, referring them to other services. That is her role. So each month, the number will fluctuate and look different, but once they are referred for varying services, yes, she's going to still follow up. But each month, and I want to make sure that I'm being clear with that, that number is going to change. So it's not like we had 94 this month. From that 94, we're going to deduct 12 the next month. No, it's really month to month what is being reported as the number of displaced families.
Okay. I completely understand, and I appreciate you. One final question, Madam Chair. Is that all right?
Go ahead.
All right, cool. Last month the last report, right? November, right? 11 intakes, 11 complaints on bullying. I know that this is not on this particular report, but I am interested to know kind of the same process. How does a family and community resource person get involved with a complaint on bullying? Like how is that tracked through your department?
Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Ms. Brody. So Pastor AJ, just to clarify, if there is a concern that comes into the Welcome Center as it relates, or excuse me, a complaint as it relates to bullying, the Family and Community Service Support Provider may not be the individual that is actually doing any follow-up or investigation into that. The Welcome Center is going to take that, especially something like bullying. They're going to take that information. They're going to share it with the chief of schools, the principal, the executive director of leadership. And of course, our family liaison in the building can work with the family to provide other supports. But as far as getting to solutions or trying to identify, a cause, it wouldn't necessarily be the FCSSP, but it would be school leadership working with the Welcome Centers. So Ms. Fagan and her team, they have great relationships, as well as the other members of our team with principals for that reason. So that's kind of how that works. It's going to come into the Welcome Center. Ms. Fagan, she'll share with Chief Avila, myself, the EDSL, like, hey, the principal, this came to my attention, want you to know. And in her role, Ms. Fagan is going to be a part of those conversations, working with the principals to ensure that there's some resolution. But it isn't necessarily the FCSSP's role to begin that process. So I just wanted to make that part clear, but great question.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Blackburn, I have a, so I'm clear, right? So homelessness, that might not necessarily, and correct me where I'm wrong, I'm just speaking, thinking I know. It says 88 requests, right? It could be a family that's homeless and they could be just requesting something. So it's not like, is it possible that 88, there was not 88 new homeless families? It could have been a homeless, it could be in a homeless category because a homeless family reached out, whether it was to the Welcome Center, whether it was to a school to request something that we would provide, or like, help me out there.
Okay, and thank you, Ms. Brody, for the question. 88 intakes that are flagged as homeless. I am reading that, and from knowing what they're doing in the Welcome Center, that's 88 individuals that are either displaced, in between an address, burnt out from a fire, and to your point, have made some sort of request under that category of homeless. So I think you raise a great point, and I think that's something we can, again, what I'm loving, I think, see the trend here in our committee is that we're taking each piece of the work that's being done and really sharing it and dissecting it with the committee. So I think it would be great. Ms. Carrillo does awesome work in the district by taking the information under McKinney-Vento and sharing it with social work so everybody understands, like to your question. So thinking that might be something we want to do here so everybody, has common understanding, is using the same language and terminology. I think that'd be great. But that's how I'm looking at it, is that 88 intakes mean folks who were displaced, fall under the McKinney-Vento, are in between addresses or burnt out, contacted the Welcome Center during the month of December for something, a referral to somewhere, something that they needed.
And do you know if it could be crossed, like say if it's one of our families that's displaced, they call, they're in the homeless category, but if they request a hygiene kit, like it could be cross, it could be one family that fits multiple categories for us, depending on how we service them. Is that true?
So I apologize. I understand. These are unduplicated numbers. So if someone called just for a hygiene kit, then it went under just hygiene kit. But if you called, I'm homeless, but I do need a hygiene kit or I need something else, you're going to go into that homeless category. So these numbers here are not duplicated numbers.
Okay, so if someone called about clothing and they also wanted some toys, but could it be the same family that requested clothing, requested a toy? It could be, but it's separated in those different
categories.
Yes. Okay. My concern would not particularly be addressed in this committee. I had so many people reach out to me in regards to whatever was going on with HMTCA. I see here that it was our high schools, it just said one, but I'm a little bit concerned about the amount of fights and all that is that I was receiving like throughout, like prior to our break. I'll figure out, Ms. Santiago helped me figure out where that would lay, but I have some concerns about HMTCA. But I'm good on this report.
Madam Chair, do you mind if I add something?
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to the folks that were in the Welcome Center, I believe Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, who received the gifts for us. They were very diligent. It was, we came, I think that the office is closed at 1 o'clock and we got there at like 12:40 or something like that. And they were gracious enough to be so kind to be there at the end of their day to receive us. So I just want to give them a shout out for being so diligent. I forget their names, but they had very good spirits. You never really remember what someone says, but you remember how they made you feel, and they were very gracious on behalf of those who couldn't be there that day. So thank you.
Awesome. So that's why I try to do the meeting thing on my phone, and then I use my computer for everything else, because navigating back and forth, I apologize. Thank you for that report. So we're moving to 2.02, School Governance Council's update. And I believe is that I'm not sure who's reporting on that today.
That is Chief Blackburn, but let me just share my screen again. Hold on, let me get to the right. Okay.
So, Madam Vice Chair Brody, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I think it's 2.2 and 2.3 is the SGC update, but then we also have the FCE, just the departmental snapshot, which also includes the SGC. So I don't know if you want to see the report separately because it's also included.
Mhm. And everything is attached in board docs. So we could, actually, Madam Chair, go ahead.
I'm telling you, in a second, I'm going to put my phone. Because y'all believe, I'll be like, where am I? However, whatever makes it easier for you this evening.
Okay, so
because I have all the reports up.
Okay.
However,
so Christina, when we get to SGC, I don't know if you want to stop sharing this and just go to but I think this will cover all of it. Okay. And I do want to pause for a moment that to say I want to shout out our Ed Pioneer Fellows. Sharice Eiffel is on the line with us, as well as Hannah Kessler. I keep saying Kessler, sorry. But definitely want to say thank you to Sharice, also our team for pulling all of this together, because I think it's really important. We're like at the mid-year point of the school year, just to give a snapshot of where we are, what's taking place. Okay. And Christina, you should see me trying to move the screen. Okay. So the objective here is really just to share monthly updates from the Office of Family and Community Partnerships. We want to ensure that the board committee, the members are aware of where we are and what's going on. So we'll start with the School Governance Council update. So happy to report that all of our schools are in compliance. What does that mean? We do not have any schools that are in the red, meaning that they have less than 5 sitting members on their School Governance Council. So you can see here this graph that shows a snapshot of November 2021, that we have 18 schools that are tier 2, meaning that they have their seats filled, whether they only have like 1 community partner, because you need to have 2, or they only have 3 teachers and you should have 5, or they have 6 parents and you should have 7, but they are partially seated. We know for an SGC, you need to have the 14 members, 7 parents, 5 teachers, and 2 community partners. And we have 20 of our schools that are in tier 1, they're green, they are fully seated. And so that's 52.8% of our SGCs are fully seated. All 7 parents, all 5 teachers, and the 2 community partners. I'm really, really excited about that. And a shout out to Ms. Alvarado, who is not with us this evening, but just works diligently with our SGCs just to make sure that they are seated. Questions, I know that she's always getting questions from the parents, from the teachers, the principals, but that's her role and she really enjoys doing it. The other piece that I wanted to call attention to is just overall 21-22 membership. Ms. Brody and past members of this committee, current members of this committee, they're like, an SGC needs to have parents. So if you're partially seated, but you have all 5 teachers and you have your 2 community partners, but you only have 2 parents, that's lopsided. So really excited to report that we have 251 parents serving in our SGCs. That's huge. That's really, really huge. So again, kudos to Ms. Alvarado and our FCSSPs and our principals who are out talking to families, encouraging them to run for seats on the SGCs and really getting them to make that commitment. And I should have asked, do you want to do questions as we go along or at the end?
think as we see on the slides, I think it'll be better if we could just address the questions throughout.
Okay. All right. And so also as a part of 21-22 membership, we have 181 teachers and 65 community leaders that are serving in our SGCs. But the win here is that all of our schools are in compliance. We do not have any schools in the red. So again, kudos to Ms. Alvarado and those that work with her for SGCs.
I do have a question about compliance, right? So who creates these tiers? Is this something that Hartford Public School creates? In regards to tier 1 being green, tier 2 yellow, and I guess tier 3 is red.
Yes.
So is that something that in-house we created?
Yes, that's HPS. So when the office was established in 2018, we were like, okay, SGCs, and I think I've shared before, we're kind of in different places. And we're like, no, again, and you've said this time and time again, we want parents on the SGC. So if you do not have X number of seats filled, then you are not in compliance. And for us, the compliance is like, you just don't have your seats filled. So how are you really conducting business? But if you have a minimal number of seats open, again, like if you have 5 parents and you have the 3 teachers, you have the 2 community partners, you can still transact business, but you are not, so I said that backwards, you are not in full compliance, but you're partially seated, you can transact business. But we want everyone to be either in the yellow or the green. We don't really want to see anyone in red.
Who determines what is compliant? Because I always say in this meeting, at least, that in my mind, if you're compliant, you're fully seated. If you're not fully seated, you're not compliant. So how are we determining what compliance is? Is that based on policy, or is it something? Go ahead.
So we put that in place for a couple of reasons, to help principals, EDSLs, because we send that huge spreadsheet, and I think Ms. Alvarado sent updated one. We send that out once a week to principals, EDSLs, to be like, hey, look, like, and nobody wants to see red, right? So folks are always trying to ensure that we're not there. So if you have less than, and Viviana's going to get me if I quote this wrong, but I believe it's if you have less than 9 members, if you're less than 9 members, or you're not in compliance. So that's our determination as an office, that you are just not in compliance. Like, how are you transacting business if you don't have the right number of parents, or even close? So if there's supposed to be 7 parents, if you only have 3 parents, that's less than half of what you're supposed to have to do the work of the SGC. But I can, have her send it like the write-up of what it is and have her share that if that'd be beneficial.
Yes, okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Johnson, do you have any questions on this slide in particular?
No, I'm just happy to see that, that is fully seated, because I remember a time some time ago where it wasn't like that. And it was an interesting process to get SGCs up. So I'm just happy to see it. I ain't gonna ask too many questions. I'm gonna take the win and I'm gonna move on.
Okay. Ms. Blackburn, you can continue.
Thank you. All right. So our family engagement events calendar for school year 21-22. Here we have what's taken place from September through December. And so looking at this, we've offered varying events, Sgc Retreat, family learning sessions, McKinney-Vento, as I shared that Ms. Carrillo, she's really intentional about hosting sessions for families and for folks to even learn more about McKinney-Vento. Also want to call to your attention that Effective School Solutions, which is a partner to the district, they also host learning sessions. Those aren't owned or facilitated by our office, but they do offer them for families to participate. And we will try to support. So in looking at this, what we're excited about is that considering both live views and views after, we have over 1,700 families within our district who are viewing our family sessions online. And this is just a breakdown of the live attendance. We do offer interpretation, how many folks are viewing the event afterwards, and then where you can actually go and access the recording if you want to look at that. I know that we are hoping that we can get back to a place where all things will be in person again, but last school year, we implemented this as a workaround so we can still interface with our families and still provide our families with needed information. As a part of our family learning session series, we do partner with the Office of Academics. Parents and families, caregivers, they're always wanting to know, how can I support my child at home? So we are offering learning sessions on math and English language arts and on science, technology, and math. So these are sessions that we know that families want. And so that's why we offer them for families who are wanting that information, and it's always available on our website, and families can go back and look at those. Also want to call attention to the Sgc Retreat and Welcome Back piece. That was a great night, well attended. And then also the budget and community forums, which was an Sgc budget training. And families, they were sending emails and sharing like, thank you for doing that. They felt heard, they were engaged. Our new CFO really enjoyed doing it. So that's why we do these learning sessions for our families, so they can, one, be a part and also be able to access the information after it's concluded.
Do you, Madam Chair, I just want to say, I try to, is it all right if I speak?
Go right ahead.
I always try to attend anything that's virtual that happens off of Hartford Public Schools, to see the quality of it, to hear the information, to have a perspective as a consumer of the information. And I think I took part in the virtual the STEM learning one. And I have to say the information that I got was very helpful, as STEM is important to me. So I wanted to actually listen as a parent. And the person that was presenting did a very, very good job. But it seemed as if the STEM information that I consumed was for older students, as I have like a 5-year-old, so some of the information wasn't as helpful for a parent that wants to start my child off in STEM. But it seemed the information seemed to be more tailored for elementary, middle school, maybe even high school. I felt like the information was tailored for. Is that specific to when we gave them the contract? Were they supposed to be speaking to, not gave them the contract, but was the learning session supposed to be open for various age of students, or just more specifically middle school, high school students?
Go ahead, Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you. And great question. And something I should probably put in my talking points, because that is something that we need to state up front, right? And so when we do our learning sessions, if it is going to be grade level specific, we do report that on the flyer and the information that goes out. In regards to the STEM learning session, I don't recall off of the top of my head if that was one that was split. I know our math sessions and our ELA sessions are split by grade levels. So it's like pre-K, middle grades, high school, but I don't recall. And I can go back and look at the flyer to see if the STEM session was set up like that. But to your point, Pastor AJ, we do try to ensure that we share that with families up front, that, hey, on this night, we're going to have part 1 of ELA for pre-K through 5. And the next, another month or so, few weeks, we're going to have part 2, which is going to be 6-12 or something like that. So I can go back and find out, but I will share that with the folks. I know the STEM session this year, I can't remember who facilitated, but these are in-house folks from the Office of Academics. So these are not individuals that are coming in from the outside. We partner with them. Definitely, that's a great partnership with our office and the Office of Academics to get that information out to families. So they're hearing it directly from the content directors. They're hearing it directly from the folks that are working with Dr. Negron on her team to instruct our students.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I had to say it was very phenomenal. And the information was there, and it was pretty good. So my next question, as it relates to this, is the budget community forum, SGC budget training. So can you just express to me how that, I didn't get a chance to see that. Was it for SGC members by Zoom, and was it streamed on the Hartford Public Schools Facebook page, or was that an exclusive event for SGC members?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I saw your head nod, so I was like, okay. So the SGC, the Budget Community Forum, was the budget training. And you'll notice that it was done twice. And so that SGC budget training, all SGC members from all of our SGCs were invited. And so they were invited to, a space. They were able to ask questions.
In person?
No, this was not in person. This was what do you call that? A webinar?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And maybe it's not a webinar, because I think in a webinar you can't, it's like not interactive, but either or, they were invited, all the SGC members, because it's also their budget training, and they were able to interact, have questions answered by the CFO. The superintendent also attended that session. I wasn't able to attend it. I was being sworn in that night, so I wasn't able to attend that particular session. But what we heard from parents, and we received emails from parents, was that they appreciated having that space to actually hear directly, like what's going into the budget. Because what we want to be able to prepare them when they are sitting in their SGC meetings. If there are questions about the budget before they go to sign off on a document, they want to be able to have real conversation about what it's about. And so that's why we do the budget training. So that particular one was not broadcasted off of our website, but that one was all SGC members being invited to that particular session, including principals. But if you're a member of the SGC, you can attend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a 2022 calendar available?
Yes, there is. It's not in this document, but yes, there is.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Parent Square. Parent Square, that is the new communication platform that the district has adopted, that we've asked all of our schools to utilize. Thought it was really important to include this, and Mr. Fergus is scheduled to come to our committee meeting to talk about all things Parent Square, because we are really excited about using it with our families. I know some families, didn't want to leave Class Dojo and didn't want to leave other things, but Parent Square, what we really, really love about it is that when a post goes out, a parent can elect to receive that information in their own native language, and it's done, like they have it. So wanted to just share with you the number of Parent Square school posts, class posts, total parent square post overall, and this is a breakdown across schools. I will note that not all schools are represented here, but in total, there were 2,490 posts, school posts on Parent Square from August until now, and a total of 5,903 class posts. Nichette, why are you talking about Parent Square and posts and all of that? I'm sharing it with this committee is because this was an investment by the district for our families, and by the number of posts that have been put out and parents being able to interact directly, like in real time, parents can respond to something. You can see, you know, if it's opened, there's definitely high engagement. So I wanted to just report briefly on this investment. Mr. Fergus will be coming, I believe next month, to share more on Parent Square. But again, just wanted to let you know where we are as far as utilizing this platform in our buildings and ensuring that parents have access to information and information is going out to our families.
So this does not include just Parent Square. This is the actual schools that are doing class posts and all of that.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So this is just Parent Square. And so it's broken down by Parent Square, the school making a post, a classroom teacher, the Parent Square classroom post, and then the last column is total overall post, Parent Square post. So in Parent Square, as a district, we can send something out through Parent Square. A school can send something out through Parent Square. A classroom teacher can also push information out through Parent Square. So this just shows what schools, the Parent Square post at the school level, and then a Parent Square post at the classroom teacher level. So I'll pick on Global Communications Academy. 70 Parent Square posts were sent to families via the school, like the school. This is from Global Communications Academy. Parent Square post, class post, 37 have gone out, and I don't know if that's, you know, it could be 37 different classrooms. And then the total Parent Square post overall is the 107 that have gone to families.
So if we, for the schools we don't see here, what do we assume?
For the schools, I'm making the
I don't see my school, and I know they use it.
Is there another home? Let me see. Oh, there is another. Sorry. Let me go.
That's why I was trying to make up questions.
I'm just stuck on this slide.
I was like, well,
there we go.
That was like, because when you said that too, I was like, no, because I know Celine and team, they do use it. Okay. There you go, Ms. Brody.
I'm telling you, see y'all 68, 150, because they use that square. And is it another school? Because my aunt, who's raising her granddaughter, I said, that's you saying the right thing. She said, I'm tired of when they email me, I said, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. We want to make sure you get all the messages, because she was definitely complaining about Parent Square, but I said, we know your school using it. You can't say you didn't know, because they hit you, like I get the text message, like they on it. So that's good.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Fergus, we're both really excited about Parent Square. So again, we want to take some time to break that down even further, and he'll be able to share in much more detail about Parent Square.
That's awesome.
All right. I included this as a part of the snapshot. I know we're going to spend some more time later in the meeting talking about home visits, but again, just wanted to share between August and September, 539 home visits were done, 178 in October, and then 203 in November. And we'll be able to add to that for December when we roll up the December numbers.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, you had anything in regard? Well, we're going to get into it further.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. And so the last slide is I wanted to include the community schools. And again, we'll be able to talk in more detail about community schools, but wanted to share, I know there were conversations in our community about, just aftercare programming, before care programming, things like that. And so I wanted to list by our community school tiers, because our community schools are tiered, tiers 1 through 4, where we do have aftercare programming. So we have 11 full service community schools, that's our tier 4. And overall in our school district, we have 29 aftercare programs that are in operation. And then we have 12 before care. Let me say that differently. We have 29 after school programs across 29 schools. And then we have 12 before care programs across our schools. We do have 13 schools that do not have before or after care. So 9 high schools, and then we have 4 elementary middle schools. So as you can see, as a district, our office, if principals share, schools share that this is something that they're interested in and trying to have a program at their building, we're going to, work with them, try to find a operator, but just thought it was good information for the committee to know that across our school district, we have 30 plus schools. We do have aftercare programming. Now, the other question that comes up, well, okay, if I'm a parent at Burns, if Burns has 500 students, do we have an aftercare program that can absorb all 500? Not all 500 families are going to want aftercare, but we are definitely trying to ensure that the scale is there. So, a certain number of slots being available. And then also the other piece of data, Sharice and Michelle, I thought about it afterwards, is trying to capture like where students are going. If they aren't staying at our after school program, well, where are they going? Because there are some offsite places, boys and girls clubs. Ms. Brody, don't yell at me. I call it the Red House, but it's not the Red House. But that's what we used to call it.
Hartford City Mission.
Thank you. Michelle knew. I was like, I call it the Red House when I was at Milner. The kids are going to be, what kids are going to the Red House? And we would get them together and send them to the Red House. But that's also a good data point. So when folks, talk to you in the community, you're able to say, well, actually, a majority of our school buildings do have aftercare programs. And before care is a little bit different, where it really is based on the need of that particular school. So like at your school, Ms. Brody, before care is something that families there have stated that they needed. So there's a before care program in that particular building. Mm-hmm. So that concludes the snapshot of where we are for the first half of the school year and what's taken place. And if there are any additional questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If you don't mind just refreshing me on the tier system.
Ms. Blackburd.
Okay, so community schools, Hartford Public Schools, and this is going to be like the elevator version, because I know that we are scheduled to talk about community schools as a committee, but Hartford Community Schools, for many years, we only had 7, as you know, Milner being one of the full service community schools. In school year 2019-2020, the board did vote and ratified that all of our schools would become community schools using a tiered model. The tiered model being looking at the schools' overall index, population need, all of that. So we have 4 tiers. And so tier 4 are our schools that are high need. We call them our full service schools. They are in tier 4, and then tiers 1, 2, and 3 are really based on the State Department of Education, that accountability index, and that's where those schools fall. Attached to these tiers, Mr. Johnson, is a listing of the types of services that you would find in these schools. So there are basic components that cut across all 4 tiers, but of course, tier 4 definitely has more touch points based on the need of that school. So that was like the the high-speed elevator version, but hopefully that gave you some context.
No, very good context, and it's brought back to my. I'm good, thank you.
I actually would have been able to speak to that.
Oh.
So my understanding is there.
And you know what, you're right. I think I just started talking. I apologize.
No. I'm saying if someone in the community asked me that same question, I think my level of understanding is there that I would have been able to speak to it. Not in this meeting, but yeah, because it's like, oh, all of our schools are community schools. And be like, instead of saying this level, it's tiers to it, it's levels to it. But we're getting
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
we're getting there to where, I mean, we all want the most need to be, to get, their needs met. You can't say, oh, the entire school district, all of our schools get the same thing. All of our schools don't need the same thing. Some need a little bit more, and that's when you see our tier 4.
Yes.
But I'm good on, I didn't know if this was the last slide.
Yes, that concludes the snapshot piece. Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Santiago, where will we go from here? Just into home. We were on family
I would say
engagement.
home. Yeah, I would say home visits, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let me get to the home visit thing. Speaking of parents, I just got an email that schools are closed tomorrow. For the snow.
Yeah, no, because whenever the mayor says it's a parking ban, it's no school. Like
yeah, basically, right? True. Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, everybody gonna be hit like me. My kid's been home for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They've been home for 2 weeks, and I'm ready to
somewhere.
Shit, I'm about Brody. Bro, you got some room over there?
They could come on over.
Say
I have a dog that is just so. We have I guess you could say rescue when another family can't care for a dog. I mean, we haven't had a dog for a year, and when he meets somebody with energy, he like, yes. Yeah. He's not one yet, so he's like,
oh, puppies. Yeah,
I could tire anybody out. He'd be looking at me. I'd be like, it ain't. He'll come and drop the ball and look at you like, I'm ready. I'll be like, yes, get your dog.
Like after this nap.
Yeah. Okay, so home visits, which we all appreciate in this committee. I can say so. Ms. Blackbird, run us through.
All right, and so you don't have to just hear my voice this time. Ms. Sinkwitz will also chime in as we go through the slides. Okay. So home visits. And Christina, of course, I'm hitting forward on the slide, but I can't because I'm not driving.
Yeah. Hold on. Is it a video? No. Why is it X? Hold on. That's weird. Just give me now it's blank. I think my computer's it just went. Wow.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I can share on my end.
Okay, let me stop sharing. I don't know. I just went blank. That's weird.
No problem.
I can try
Technology
again.
does that. Technology does that. Okay, hold on. Ooh, no. I think I might have closed it. Just give me 1 second.
I can also try reopening. Let me just.
Yeah, Ashley, say hi.
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 Say the students' creed. Say the students' creed for them while they're getting ready. Say it.
The students' creed. I'm a student, seeking to be a scholar. The standards excellent. Today and tomorrow. I am disciplined, focused, and on time. I'm organized, respectful, and responsible. I'm on a mission to elevate myself, fulfill my humanity and humanity. I say.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes.
No, I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ashton. All right,
Let's close the
Christina,
door.
you still want me to share or?
Yeah, it's not even opening anymore for me. I might have lost my VPN connection. That could have been it. So
Gotcha.
go ahead.
All right.
That's exactly
Can
what it
everyone
was.
see this? Yes?
Yes.
We're good? Okay. All right, so home visits. So a lot of conversation about home visits over the last couple of years. And I'm like, now is my computer not working? Okay, there we go. So I wanted to begin by just sharing a couple of facts here. So did you know? So Hartford Public Schools, we've been doing home visits, and actually the school district, we have been cited in different publications, newspaper, and so these were just a couple, the most recent one being in the top corner here, HPS staff lead in home visits supported by State Family Engagement Program. So that's a student engagement specialist, Mr. Isaiah Jacobs. He works between Rawson and Weaver, and he's here actually having a check-in with a student, and the article goes on to talk about the work that's being done through home visits. Of course, the relationship building at the family level, but then how that impacts when students are coming in the building, and how that's supposed to be the way it goes. It's relationship building with the family, building that strength, building that muscle with them, and how it eventually impacts the student. The picture on the right here, that's a picture of superintendent, the former principal of Rawson, Dr. Batchelor, and Trisilla Tirado, former community school director. This picture was taken last June, and this was an article, this one was in the Current, that was talking about staff from Hartford Public Schools speaking to families. And I love the picture because there's the American flag and of course the Jamaican flag there. Bop, bop. Yes, sorry. You know, I had to get it in there, Pastor AJ, had to. And and you can see that they're talking to the family, like they're out they're down on the street, the family's up top, but they're having a conversation, right? We're in the pandemic. So of course, can't necessarily go inside, but having a conversation. I'm sure they're not talking about delicate information, but again, this is about relationship building, checking in, what's going on, how can we assist? And love that Trisilla has her bag of goodies on her arm for the family. Okay, so just wanted to share that again, Hartford Public Schools, doing home visits, and I wanted to add this piece around the priority 3 is because again, tying it all back to our priority, and of course, the end goal is to enrich student learning and to ensure that our students' academic outcomes are impacted. So when we look at priority 3, we talk about standardizing and implementing a home visit protocol. And of course, working with our attendance, culture, and engagement school-based teams to look at home visit data. All right. So I started already sharing some of the HPS context. It was always a part of our way of work. There was a renewed focus that began in spring of 2020 during the pandemic as it relates to home visits, but we did recognize that need for standardization. So again, it was always a way of work. And for us, it's not a punitive piece. It was about trying to build relationships. In the spring of 2020, when we kind of just put folks out there, in that moment, it may have felt like it was something that we were doing because it was punitive. We were trying to reach students, but it's always about relationship building. So it's not a got you, it's not anything like that. It's about trying to build relationships with families. As we were thinking about the way of work and looking at that way of work and really trying to craft that HPS way of doing home visits, recognize like, okay, we all have to have common language, common understanding, like what's the definition? Like, what are we saying in home visit is? Because everybody had varying views. You can Google several different models out of different places, different states, but the HPS way of doing home visits, like what are we saying a home visit from a Hartford Public School entity, what is that? And so home visits, we are trying our earnest best to schedule them in advance. So it's not just, hey, we're going out, we'll see if you're there, if you're not there. We're really trying to schedule these home visits in advance because one, I believe that's just courteous. I'm not always home. I can't just expect folks to believe that, well, oh, because you're a parent, whatever other thoughts people may bring to the table in regard to that, our families are supposed to be home. No, they should be scheduled in advance. So that was one way of kind of framing the HPS home visit way. Visits can be held at home or in another location. Michelle says all the time, like, no, my home is my space. So I determine if I want to bring somebody into my home. But a member of Pastor AJ's church may say to Michelle when she calls to schedule that home visit, like, well, can I meet you at Urban Hope Refuge? And that's okay. That's fine to do, or another location. And then meeting with a parent or a guardian, again, to strengthen that school-family relationship. So when we talk about home visits here at Hartford Public Schools, that's what we're saying. A visit that's scheduled in advance as much as possible. It doesn't have to be held at the home or another location. During the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, some of those home visits had to be done virtually over a screen. And then again, just meeting with that parent or guardian to strengthen that relationship. So currently, what we are doing is updating and standardizing that home visit protocol. I did share the protocol with Ms. Santiago. Ms. Santiago, I'm not sure if it was shared with the committee, but did share that newly reframed home visit protocol. That home visit protocol was shared with all of our support teams, and they have received extensive training, home visit training, utilizing the home visit protocol and also being a part of the learner engagement program through the State Department of Education. Also, we looked at our Power School information system, and even the wording that was there, it was formerly called like a truant and disengaged log. That's, to me, that just gives off a negative vibe. So we reframed that through the work of folks here on the call, Ms. Sinkowitz, Ms. Mitchell-Davis, the rest of the team, input from FCSSPs and other support staff. We reframed the log, and in a few minutes, I'll show that, to call it our family engagement log. Currently, we are looking to implement that twilight team, understanding that while we want to have home visits that are scheduled, parents work, family members are out, they may not be home during a school day. So we do need feet on the ground, boots on the ground that can meet with families after regular school hours. Our community partners have always been willing to assist with home visits, but through the help of the LEAP dollars, we are able to contract differently with our community partners to assist us in home visits. And then lastly, creating and utilizing a survey to measure our home visit effectiveness and using that Qualtrics platform. So Dr. Silver and her team, it's a short survey, and I believe I also sent that. That was a part of what was sent, Ms. Santiago, for the board members to look at. So we are going out and interfacing with families, but we also need to know as an office, if a parent feels that, this wasn't beneficial, I was put upon, or what have you, we want to also get that information back in real time. Because again, if we are trying to standardize and have the Hartford Public School way of doing home visits, we also need to get real-time information from families to let us know how they're also receiving what we are sharing. All right, oops, before I go there, I know that Ms. Sinkowitz, we also shared this with with Ms. Santiago, were like conversation starters, and just different pieces when we go out to the home, how we conduct ourselves, what we're sharing with families, and also wanted to add right here that the support teams, they've gone through role-playing exercises because again, we're not trying to put folks out cold, going out to visit with families. We've given them training and also wanting to make sure that they're comfortable in that space. So Ms. Sinkwitz, I don't know if you want to talk about those conversation starters.
Yeah, and Ms. Alvarado and Mr. Martinez really did a lot of work on them. Neither of them can be here today, but the conversation starters, we sort of put it into different scenarios. So, you know, thinking about if there is just a relationship building focus, if you're trying to build relationships, but also it's a student who hasn't been showing up to school and you're trying to see what barriers might exist or how we could help support for those students to come into school. And then there's also, you know, another set of questions if it's more of a wellness check and we're concerned or we're worried. And so everything starts with relationship building and really creating a safe space, no matter what the topic is. But then, and we want it to be like more open for the team that's there so that they can sort of, you know, feed off of the energy, use their own judgment and have agency, and make it authentic. But also we included just some conversation starters for some of that consistency and so that people can kind of know where to start. And another thing that we did on the, as for the district attendance team is we wanted to make sure that the messaging was more like consistent and that that relationship building type messaging was in all the ways that families were being contacted. So in conjunction with the home visits, we also changed the report card comments because we looked back at the report card comments about attendance in particular, and it didn't always come off as the most relationship building language. And so we modified that to try to have it be more supportive, relationship building, and kind of like, hey, how can we help you? As opposed to like something is wrong.
Ms. Blackburk, you're on mute.
Still on mute.
Yeah, you're still on mute. You did probably double tap like I do, like I've been doing. I take myself off and put it right back.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, 1 2 1 2, perfect. Okay, so the conversation is definitely focused on families, their strength, their capabilities, you know, as well as their aspirations. We always share with our support team, the FCSSPs, that every family, like they have aspirations for their child, they have aspirations for their children. So never forget that. So when we are having these conversations, lead with that, find out like how. Tell me about Michelle. Tell me about Michelle. What do I need to know about her and how can I support you in ensuring that she meets those aspirations? And again, really want to emphasize here that we are not there to dealt out sanctions. That's not our job. We're not there to dealt out sanctions to anybody. So for us, it's really about that relationship building and offering that support over time. Because that's how you build rapport, is by taking time to do that. So the other piece I wanted to add right there, the home visit isn't necessarily one and done. Depending on the type of home visit that was set up, scheduled, that needed to take place, but there will be home visits that are not one and done. So if you're going out to have a conversation because it was prompted by attendance, that may be one and done. But if you recognize that, you know, Shantae was not at school, or you need to go and just find out what's going on, maybe Shantae had a surgery and maybe it's going to be a 6-week recovery process. That may not be a one and done. And also understanding that this is a huge investment. So also thinking about that, like, okay, well, how do we ensure that we are also being efficient in our processes and making sure that families are receiving what they need. There might be action items or follow-up that needs to take place. So home visits aren't necessarily one and done. I'm trying to move quickly because I know there's going to be questions. So wanted to just give you eyes on the newly reframed family engagement page in, I said that backwards, the newly reframed home visit page in our family engagement tab in Power School. And so here you see the date of the visit number, because again, like I just said, it's not necessarily a one and done. The location of the visit, there's a varying list of reasons, who's doing the home visit, and then there's a section that speaks to the reason for the absence. And then what I love is that there's free space for next steps that need to be inputted, and then of course what the outcome is. So if I go to the home visit and I need to make a referral to 211 for the family, or I need to go back to the school and talk with the school nurse or the teacher, you can put your action steps in there, and the individuals that you're going to be talking to, they can go into Power School, into this family engagement tab, and look at the information. They'll be able to see what took place at the home visit and what needs to be followed up on. And you can also put an outcome. So this page, I just think the page being reframed in itself, instead of it being called truant and disengaged, whoever the reader is, already you are moving from that deficit place and realizing like, okay, this is about the family, how we're engaging the family. So that's just a quick view into the newly reframed home visit page in the family engagement tab. The other reason why we wanted to reframe this is because when the data team goes in, they're able to siphon the data differently versus just saying, and I know Ms. Brody, you've asked that question before, so okay, we had 100 home visits. Well, did we do 50 for attendance? Did we do 25 for something else? Behind the scenes, our data team will be able to pull that information using this reframe of the home visit page. So that's what we wanted to share about home visiting. Really wanted to stress that as a district, we've gone from just it being something we do in a way of work to really standardizing a process by having a home visit protocol, putting pieces in place so we can really have good quality data. And then also, like we do in school with students, an exit slip, being able to share with families, like, let us know how this is going. And that's it. So I'll stop there for questions.
Mr. Johnson?
I don't necessarily have any questions. I think that the presentation was well put together and how the process works. And my questions were kind of answered during the walkthrough. So I don't necessarily have anything now, unless you say something, Chairwoman Brody, that sparks something I didn't think about.
I think with us seeing it for the first time is going to take us some time to digest it, and we'll think about it. And I'm quite sure we'll have some follow-up questions probably next month, as we sometimes do. The questions flow from one month to the next. I do have a request though for our for the Title I funds to be a standing item, Ms. Santiago. So we're knowing month to month how the schools are utilizing those funds, that the Title I funds that are set aside for parental activities, as it fits in that guideline on how they can.
Yep, so we'll make sure to add it to the next one. I'm not sure there was movement from the last month because of the break and everything, but we'll definitely add.
Okay, I don't have anything else. We're nearing the end of our meeting. I don't have any burning questions at this time.
I have as we're ending the nearing of a meeting, you know, this young lady has been on the phone pretty patiently, Morasika.
I think
Like,
Mauricia.
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 Hello. I don't think, did you hear,
I
Liz?
heard the introduction, but I'm
Okay.
also reviewing, obviously the minutes from our last meeting. And it seems as if she has been or planning to be pretty busy. So I just wanted to just give her a quick shout out and just kind of hear how are you doing? How are you
So,
doing?
so basically he's putting you on the spot.
Of course, like I'm not about to lie, just get up here. Yeah, I mean, when I was a Vista, man, they had me out here doing all kind of crazy things. I'm just returning the love from when I was in AmeriCorps Vista and answering questions I had no business answering, right? Or trying to answer. So, welcome to the party. But how are you? How are you liking your role? All that good stuff.
It's been very informative. Like I've said earlier, that I didn't know anything about what happens behind the scenes, what administrators do for students, because I grew up in the Hartford public school system. And it's interesting to see like the day-to-day of what Michelle does and what Michette does, and basically anybody else on the team. We're starting a project. Well, it's starting up, the TNTP project, the Parent and Caregiver Academy. That's what I'm mostly working on. And also I just enjoy I just love being in an office environment, working under Michelle. She's great too. Shout out to Michelle, not only to me, because she's really great. She helps me every single day, explains to me things that I don't understand. And I'm just excited to continue to learn about what's going on and just dive right into the work, especially with the Parent and Caregiver Academy.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. In the packets that we get, it reads things like this. She will be working as a part of our team, specifically on the Family and Caregiver Academy. She is Hartford born and raised, okay? Hartford born and raised, and will bring her unique strengths and passions to our team. So I just got one question for you. What's your passion?
My passion, oh, that's such a big question. My passions is definitely, let me form it correctly because I have a lot of passions. Definitely equity is a huge passion that I have, especially in the Hartford area. I've been in a lot of places, not live in a lot of places, but I've been to a lot of places in Connecticut, and I've seen the disparities in different communities, just not Hartford. And I want to make sure that not just me single-handedly by myself, of course, but I want to make sure that all places have their voice be heard, if that makes sense. Like people that live in low-income communities, especially, because I feel like they're definitely underrepresented, as you all know. And it's very important that there's more work to be done, more community-based type of things to make sure that people are getting the support they needed in these low-income communities. So I definitely would say passion, but one of my passions is equity in all communities.
That is phenomenal. Well said. And you sound like a young Zeta. We'll talk about that later.
Oh no, I saw your bracelet.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
don't
I know.
we gotta raise them up. We gotta raise them. Anyway.
LOL.
Thank you.
Miss
Nice
Blackbird has her hand up. Take mute. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, Pastor AJ, you caught me off guard with that one. I do apologize for my outburst. I do apologize. Okay. But Mauricia, when you come into the office, we will talk. Okay. But Madam Chair, wanted to find out, I do always like to ask the committee, are there any things that you want to share with us? Anything that upcoming, pieces that you would like us to take into consideration? Just I like to ask, like, is there anything I know you shared in the past and we were able to address that as far as, parents and their access to the buildings? So just asking again, is there anything that needs to be shared with us? Anything you're hearing from, your constituents?
Yes. I would like, when a lot of parents that I've been coming in contact with, they don't know what level of advocacy that the Welcome Center is tasked with providing.
Mhm.
So if we could do a presentation here in committee in reference to that, I think that would be awesome.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yeah,
And,
I just, oh, I'm sorry, were you
No,
responding?
go ahead, Pastor AJ.
Yeah, I just want to follow up, and like I said, I appreciate the minutes that are taken, but there is a request from Chairman Brody around discipline data
Yes.
pre-pandemic, and I was just making sure that was followed up on. If it wasn't, then let's figure out how to do it. But what was that, something that was followed up on?
Madam Chair, so the
Mhm.
discipline data, I did share that with my colleague. That is not something that flows from this particular team, but I did share that with my colleague. So I will, Christina.
Yeah, you just refreshed my memory. That's where we
Okay.
left it because it was with Chief Avila and the yes.
Okay.
So thank you for saying that.
Oh, no problem. No problem. And thank you, Pastor AJ, because again, that's important because when we ask the committee members here, are there pieces that we kind of need to keep our pulse on, definitely. And Ms. Brody, I think that's actually great what you shared. I'm wondering if for committee, but also we do a Welcome Center presentation and a department presentation for new teachers, for the administrators, but we probably should do like a learning session for families as it relates to the center.
I mean, yeah, even it doesn't even have to be here. It could be a learning session because I Miss Fagan knows I call her for me. Like I try to follow the rules. I try at my school. That's what I tell everybody. I try at my school when it be like, I call the Welcome Center and I'm in those numbers that was presented earlier. To know like we have individuals that will advocate for us, parents and families at the school level. Sometimes I'm assuming we get calls that actually we're telling them that, because parents should always know this is what you do when that doesn't necessarily work out, or you need assistance, we can come in and assist you. So I need to, so Hartford Public Schools is closed tomorrow. So what does that mean for you guys? Are you closed? Like, how do we? That's my last question for this evening. Like, because I know sometimes it'll be like the schools are closed, but that doesn't necessarily mean central office is closed.
Correct. That's correct. So I haven't seen the announcement yet, but if they said the schools are closed, then the schools are closed, and then central office, we'd have to wait for further directive if central office, the district would be closed.
Okay, but maybe I think it would be absolutely awesome for it to be a family learning session. But in this committee next month, maybe we can talk about some of those things, like it doesn't have to be a presentation if you're creating a presentation for the entire school community, but just to talk through some of those things. So at least board members can have like an understanding of what we actually do out of that office, and as it relates to advocacy. I didn't know, Mr. Johnson, if you had anything else, because it's good for us, like when we're out in the community and parents are asking us questions. Ms. Santiago knows the one, because I always copy her in when I email Judith, like, I'm telling you, these people, they're really asking me these questions. But just so board members, so we know, like if a parent says, oh, this, that, and the third, we know what they should experience and we can say that to them, no, you do this, that, and the third. So for us to have a clear understanding that, so we're not out in the community just saying anything like that is not, what we do. I think that would be helpful. I don't think we should have new committee members next meeting, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So that'll be helpful, because that's the first thing. And they know you a board member and you have to verify your role. I don't do that.
Actually, I take that back. Sorry, Chairwoman Brody. I take that back. Usually the next chair of, which is in February, assigns. So they may not be on the committee, but I will, they're of course welcome to join just to start learning.
They're welcome to just sit in. So maybe, I don't know. I think it would be most beneficial if we had that discussion with new committee members, but we could always revisit it. But I think that's a very important conversation, because they ask us, and I don't do that. That's not.
So so I know we're ending the end of the meeting, but I think you bring up a very valid point. Being that the January and February, we're in January. The February meeting will definitely have new members in it. So
not necessarily. So in February, we elect a new chair of the board. So that chair is going to appoint committee chairs and sign and say, and ask the new board members, what committee do you want to serve on? So that may be full-fledged in March. As far as us, yeah.
Okay, so I think my point still is now has more time to, my point is, as a committee and as we're here, is there a way that we can possibly set the agenda either now or in February for the March meeting, so it has direction and it's onboarding people the way, like, is there a way that we can set the agenda to onboard people at that meeting, right, before hopping into business and reports? Is there a way just to onboard whoever's new in a sensible way, so their first meeting, they're not looking at the family,
No, they're gonna jump in right where we at.
Okay.
On the job train.
Oh, all right.
No, we'll do it. We'll be sensitive, absolutely, to them having an understanding of what we do in committee. Absolutely. We'll but the agenda, we were presented months ago with the agenda to try to be proactive with planning out the agenda. And is that a right way to describe it, Ms. Blackbird?
Yes, and that's what I was referencing as far as the placement of where Parent Square and community schools is, but do agree. And I know that whoever the chair is and the superintendent, like, there's all of that download that happens, but we do have like a short, we have a short little a PowerPoint that we usually use that we could also, share, like, hey, this is a little bit about the office and the work. You know what I mean? So, hi, doggy.
Hey.
I was like, Michelle, that's funny.
He'd be like, you need to get off this call now. I've been patiently waiting, right?
That is exactly what he's saying.
Like, this meeting over, you 8 minutes over, Mom. I get it. But yes, so, but we are able to make, even though we set the agenda and it's kind of built out, we are, like just now what was done, you'll say, is there anything else to try to incorporate that on this?
Yeah, and as a reminder, the calendar reminder, you get to read the superintendent's weekly report. There's a link in there for that progress monitoring calendar that has the agenda items for the year for all of the committees. So feel free to, when you get that reminder, just click on it, take a peek, and that would be the time to say, hey, do you think we can add this, or, for a future meeting? But it's pretty much set for the year, yeah, which has been a huge help, I have to say. For all the committees, it has been. Okay.
And we just need to add Title I to, and actually I can go in and do it, Christina, and just add Title I to all of them.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I don't have anything else. I thank everyone for their time. And I enjoyed the information tonight. Very, very informational. And everyone stay safe. I know Hartford has a parking ban, no school tomorrow. So everybody stay safe and warm. And with that said, I will adjourn the meeting.
Have a
Thank you.
good
Have a
night.
good one.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good night.
Good night.